Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into some big news for Jacksonville Jaguars fans today.
Yeah, their new defensive coordinator.
Exactly. Anthony Campanile coming over from the Green Bay Packers,
where he was linebackers coach and running game coordinator.
And you know what's interesting? Under his leadership, Green Bay had the 7th best run defense in the entire league last year.
Absolutely. Only giving up an average of 99.4 rushing yards per game.
Not bad. Definitely a sign of his coaching ability.
For sure. And it's not like this is his first NFL job either. He's got experience.
Right. 4 seasons as linebackers coach for the Miami Dolphins. So this isn't new territory for him.
Nope. But it is his first time as defensive coordinator in the league.
Big step. If you're finding this breakdown interesting, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps us out.
Now, looking at the Jaguars, this move is particularly interesting because their defense, well, it needed some work last season.
To say the least. They were ranked 31st in the league in yards allowed per game.
Yeah, almost 400 yards given up every single game.
Yeah.
And almost 6 yards per play.
Not exactly a recipe for winning football games.
No, sir. But here's the thing. Campanile is inheriting some serious young talent on that Jaguars defense. Guys like Josh Allen, Travon Walker, and Devin Lloyd.
If he can get those guys firing on all cylinders, watch out.
Potentially a scary good defense.
And don't forget the Jaguars have the 5th overall pick in the upcoming draft.
Oh, yeah. They could add even more talent to that defense. A shutdown corner, maybe a game-changing safety, lots of options.
But definitely something to keep an eye on. So lots to think about on the defensive side, but what about the offense? They still need an offensive coordinator.
True. And this hire could be just as crucial as the defensive coordinator one, especially with Trevor Lawrence heading into his 5th season.
That's right. You've got this young quarterback with so much potential, but he hasn't quite reached the level everyone expected.
Well, he's had a lot of inconsistency around him, different coaches, different systems. It's tough for any quarterback to flourish in that environment.
So what kind of offensive coordinator could help Lawrence take that next step? What should the Jaguars be looking for?
First and foremost, someone who can connect with Lawrence personally, build a strong relationship, someone he can trust and communicate with openly. That quarterback-coordinator bond is crucial.
Absolutely. Beyond that, what about the offensive system itself?
They need someone creative and adaptable, someone who can build a system that highlights Lawrence's strengths.
Lawrence has shown flashes of brilliance in a spread-out, up-tempo offense, something that allows him to make quick decisions and utilize his mobility.
Right, but he's also got the arm talent to excel in a more traditional pro-style offense. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Finding the right balance.
Yeah.
So the Jaguars have a lot to figure out on both sides of the ball this offseason. But before we dive too deep into that, a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you're enjoying it. It really helps us out. Now back to the Jaguars head coach Liam Cohen. Seems pretty excited about Campanile's arrival.
Oh yeah, he had a lot of good things to say about Campanile's defensive system.
Calling it adaptable and saying it lets players play fast and physical.
Music to a defensive coach's ears.
Definitely sounds like a potential shift in philosophy for the Jaguars.
Could be exciting to watch.
So lots of potential on the defensive side, but we can't forget about the offense.
Of course not. That offensive coordinator hire is going to be huge, especially for Trevor Lawrence.
Speaking of Lawrence, what are your thoughts on his strengths and weaknesses? What kind of offensive scheme could really unlock his full potential? Lawrence is a special talent. He's got all the physical tools you could want in a quarterback, strong arm, accurate throws, and he can move pretty well in the pocket.
He can make all the throws, that's for sure. But where he needs to improve is his decision-making.
I think so.
Sometimes he holds onto the ball a little too long, tries to force the big play when a check down might be the smarter option.
And that's where a good offensive coordinator comes in. Someone who can teach him to read defenses quicker, make the right decisions consistently.
Exactly. And that's why this hire is so important. They need to find someone who can tailor the system to Lawrence's strengths.
Help him play freely, but also make smart choices.
Exactly. So what kind of system are we talking about here? What offensive schemes could work well for Lawrence?
Well, you mentioned earlier that he's shown promise in a spread-out offense.
Yeah.
Something that gives him multiple options.
Right. Something that gets the ball out quickly and lets him use his legs.
Keep the defense on their toes. Make them react to him.
Exactly. But it's not just about running a spread offense. It's about creating a system that's tailored to Lawrence's strengths.
And helps minimize his weaknesses. Find ways to get him in rhythm and build his confidence.
Exactly. It's about finding the right coach who can do that.
Are there any specific coaches out there who you think could be a good fit for the Jaguars and for Lawrence?
A few names come to mind, but it's not just about finding a big-name coordinator. It's about finding the right fit.
Someone who can connect with Lawrence and help him develop.
Exactly. It's like trying to solve a puzzle, matching the right coach with the right quarterback and the right system.
The perfect recipe for success.
It really is. And that's what makes the NFL so interesting. It's a chess match.
The Jaguars are making some big moves this offseason, trying to put themselves in a position to win.
They're definitely not afraid to shake things up.
Speaking of winning, the Jaguars are in a tough division, the AFC South. How do you think they stack up against the competition?
Well, the Colts, Titans, and Texans are all solid teams, but the Jaguars have the potential to be right there with them.
They've got young talent on both sides of the ball, a new coaching staff,
And a front office that seems committed to winning.
and don't forget that favorable draft position.
True. They have a chance to add some impact players.
Yeah, this is a team on the rise.
They're not quite contenders yet, but they're heading in the right direction.
It's going to be fun to watch how it all plays out.
It definitely will. And we'll be here to break it all down every step of the way.
Before we move on, a reminder to subscribe to the channel and like this video. It really helps us out. Now back to the Jaguars. You mentioned earlier that Campanile's arrival could signal a shift in defensive philosophy. What do you mean by that?
Well, based on what he did in Green Bay, I think we can expect a defense that's aggressive and physical. A defense that sets the tone.
Not just sitting back and reacting.
No, he's going to bring the pressure, try to force turnovers.
Sounds like it could be a good fit with the young talent they have on defense.
Yeah.
Guys like Josh Allen and Travon Walker.
Those guys are fast and athletic, perfect for an aggressive scheme, but it's not just about having talent.
You need a coach who can put them in the right positions.
Exactly. Someone who can design a scheme that maximizes their strengths. So how might Campanile's system differ from what the Jaguars have done in the past?
What kind of changes might we see?
Well, one thing that stands out about Campanile is his creativity when it comes to blitzing. He's not afraid to bring pressure from different angles.
Keep the offense guessing.
Exactly. He has a variety of blitz packages to confuse the quarterback.
That could be a big advantage for the Jaguars, especially against some of the high-powered offenses they'll face in their division.
Think about the Colts with Matt Ryan, the Titans with Derrick Henry.
The Texans with Deshaun Watson. They'll need to disrupt those offenses,
Exactly. Campanile's aggressive approach could be the key.
force them to adjust to the defense.
That's the idea. So we've talked a lot about Campanile and the defense, but let's switch gears back to the offense. We know they need to find an offensive coordinator who can help Lawrence. But what about the rest of the offense? Are there other areas they need to address? The offensive line could definitely use some work. They struggled to protect Lawrence last season.
Yeah, he was sacked way too often.
And that's tough on a young quarterback. When you're constantly under pressure, it's hard to make good decisions.
So upgrading the offensive line should be a priority.
Whether it's through the draft, free agency, or both, they need to give Lawrence more time to throw.
What about wide receiver? Could they use an upgrade there?
They could. They have some decent players,
Right.
but they're missing a true number one receiver, someone who can consistently win those one-on-one battles.
Make those big plays down the field.
Exactly. Having that go-to guy can make a huge difference for a quarterback.
Someone you can trust to make a play in a clutch situation.
For sure. So it seems like the Jaguars have a lot of work to do this offseason.
But they have the potential to be a much better team in 2025.
I agree. With the right moves, they could be in the playoff mix.
It all comes down to the draft and free agency.
And finding the right coaches,
The coaches who can get the most out of their players.
especially Trevor Lawrence.
It's going to be an exciting offseason in Jacksonville.
It is, and we'll be here to cover it all.
Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you're enjoying it. Your support means a lot to us.
Now back to the Jaguars. We've talked about offense and defense, but what about special teams? Do they need to make any changes there? Yes, special teams are often overlooked, but they can absolutely make or break a game.
It's easy to forget about them until a missed field goal costs you the game.
Exactly. A blocked punt can change the momentum in a heartbeat. You can have a great offense and defense.
But if your special teams are shaky, it can really hurt you.
Absolutely. It's about having a well-rounded team, strong in all three phases of the game.
Finding that balance.
And that's what the Jaguars are working towards, building a team that can compete with the best,
Which means addressing their weaknesses in every area.
including special teams.
So it'll be interesting to see how they approach special teams in the draft and free agency.
They have some decisions to make
They do, and those decisions will determine if they can take that next step.
and become a true contender.
All right, folks, that wraps up our discussion on the Jacksonville Jaguars and their new defensive coordinator, Anthony Campanile.
We covered a lot today.
We talked about his background, his potential impact on the Jaguars' defense, and the team's overall outlook for 2025.
We also discussed the importance of finding the right offensive coordinator to help Trevor Lawrence.
And the need to address their weaknesses on the offensive line and at wide receiver.
We even touched on the often overlooked importance of special teams.
It's been a fascinating look at a team that's on the rise.
A team with a lot of potential and a lot of excitement surrounding their future.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like.
Your support means a lot to us. We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis from around the NFL.
Until then, keep those brains engaged, and we'll see you next time.